I'll go ahead and welcome everyone to tonight's regularly scheduled select board meeting on Monday, August 4th. To my left is Vince Conti. To my right is Tor Nelson and Carla Nuizo. And we have Orca Media Filming and a few folks on the Zoom with us as well. And I'll call the meeting to order. Any public comment?
No, we got the public hearing first.
Oh, yes, I didn't see that. Thank you. Okay, so we were starting with the public hearing for the speed limit changes in traffic and vehicle ordinance. Thank you for that.
So we've had two requests come in. The first is on Holland Avenue and Paul Avenue, establishing a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on both of those roads, down from what the ordinance currently says is 30 miles an hour. The posted sign though is 35 miles an hour. I don't think there's anybody from Holland Avenue here yet. So the second request is from Crosstown Road out front, which is currently posted at 30 miles an hour. And Alice and Jeff, floor is yours.
Bingham, our neighbor on Crosstown Road. We've had, Tim and I have been in here a number of times to talk about Crosstown Road. I think Tom's over there too. Tom, welcome. And our take on the road isn't necessarily that the speed limit is wrong for the road. It's that the road that encourages people to violate the speed limit. That it's a big, wide open, wide lanes, unmarked relatively. I mean, there's a faded center line. There's no edge lines. The bridge crossing over the mill pond is even wider than the rest of the road. And it just encourages people to drive erratically and hastily on the road. The speed enforcement is, the police are out there regularly doing speed enforcement, but they can't be out there all the time. What I would look for it is making that public right-of-way a right-of-way that is safe for all users, not just motorized vehicles. We owe nothing to motorized vehicles. Motorized vehicles can pass through at the speed limit on much narrower lanes, and where there are constrictions. If speed bumps are a thing, speed bumps could be a thing. It's just that road is not well designed for a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit. It encourages people to drive unsafely, and it does not allow for safe use for people who are non-motorized vehicle users. Bicycles on the road are constantly being challenged by motorized vehicles, walkers, which we have a number of, because people park here and walk out to Berlin Pond to go use Berlin Pond, and they use Crosstown Road. And probably the greatest danger to them is that crossing that bridge on Mill Pond. Tom, do you have any thoughts on crossing that bridge in front of your house?
From my point of view, it's a real danger to the town. The guardrails are about, I don't know, I'm going to guess 120 feet or so. Many times I've been walking across there, cars come in traffic both directions, and I just back up and hug the guardrails until they're gone. There's no shoulder there. There are always walkers and bikers, and I remember one memorable time with a lady with a baby carriage, and they're just in room. And I figure 35-mile-an-hour speed limit posted means they'll go 45. 25 means they'll go 35. And I know lots of animals have been hit there, one very recently. And, it's only time before somebody else gets hit there because it's just so active. There's so many walkers and runners. And right where those guardrails compress the road, it's tough to get across there with the traffic that we've got there.
And I would say that the problem with those guardrails is really that they don't compress the road enough, and they leave no, so it doesn't have any barrier between a non-motorized, a person using a walker, bike, or whatever, lady with a baby carriage going through there, and a motor vehicle that will travel that has come off of a downhill where they've ignored a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit sign, so they can gun it up the slight upgrade to the stop sign, and I've sat out there and watched cars go by for, in particular in the last few weeks, and the pattern is they get to the crest of the hill by the Batdorf's house, and then they start accelerating to go very fast over the bridge and continue going fast up the other side. And coming from the other direction, they're coming under the highway and just gunning it down across the bridge and then up the other side. And if there's anything in the way, it doesn't matter because they're in their 5,000 pounds of steel that is designed to protect them from a head-on collision with another automobile. And they are perfectly safe, but they become an extreme danger to anything that is not in a motorized vehicle. So something needs to be done with that road to encourage drivers to be afraid. That drivers need to feel unsafe on the road. They don't need to be unsafe. They need to feel unsafe. And they don't. They feel perfectly safe in going by at whatever speed they can get to. There's nothing there that says to a driver, I need to obey the speed limit besides a sign that says what the speed limit is. And I would question if anyone in the world pays attention to a sign and says, "Oh, I need to drive the speed limit because it says it's the speed limit." That it's just people have to feel like there's some reason that they have to follow the speed limit.
Well, ultimately, I think you're right. Right now, there's speed limits. I think would help enforcement anyway. Ultimately, those culverts need to be extended, and I don't want anybody closer to my house, but the fact is that those culverts really have to be extended 10 feet in some kind of a sidewalk walkway. Everybody on this board, I think, has been across there and met somebody walking a dog or joggers. I think you've all been there. If you haven't, stop about 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock, and sit. I'll provide the chair, sit at my front lawn and watch it go. And we runners in the car. It's pretty dramatic sometimes. I sometimes have to wait a long time to get across to pick up my mail.
And I would like to add to that if I could.
Yes, by all means.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm soon to be a resident of the Crosstown Road area. By fall, my husband and I hope to relocate to Shed Road as Tim is leaving, and we will be coming over from Barry. But just the same, I've sat on that porch at 140 for Crosstown for 17 years now, so I know the area very well. And I have met the children at the school bus with my heart in my throat because the school bus lets the children off on the far side of the road. And I'm always concerned that not only coming up from the dirt end where the pavement ends of Crosstown Road, but also racing around the corner from Scott Hill or Payne Turnpike, and they suddenly encounter a school bus. That's a dangerous situation right there. And I also am just speaking for myself as a walker and a person who has a bicycle, and from that or Maple Fields, and it's a risk for anyone. I see people with children, I see elders, of which I consider myself to be young at heart, but chronologically elder. And it's a dangerous place. And so this whole confluence of things that came together over the last couple of weeks has really just whet my appetite for doing something about it. And there are many reports, many findings, many traffic studies. The Regional Planning Commission, of which I am a member, has a traffic committee. There's a lot of help out there for making a kind of decision that could facilitate a change in whatever is needed for that section of Crosstown Road. And I would be very amiable to assist. I also would be very happy if that happened for the safety of not only the people who live right there in Berlin Corners, but for everyone who might be using that thoroughfare for either a car or for walking, or in particular bicycle.
Thank you very much for sharing. Much appreciated.
I'd just like to add that we have an example in town now of what happens when you constrict lanes. When you go to the Bailey Bridge over on Payne Turnpike North, you can go over there and see what happens to car speed when they have to approach that bridge that has a shift in the lane and it has a constriction of the width of the road. They slow down, and it's just a natural slowdown, because they see that thing and they have to make a decision about something, and it makes them change their pattern instead of just flooring it along like they want to. And it's so that's what I would bring up, is that example of putting shifts in the road, constricting the lanes, and those kind of things can be done simply. They don't need a whole lot of money to do that. You don't need to build a Bailey Bridge. They're reflective markers that can be laid out like the construction crews use. And there are stick down crosswalks that you don't even have to, that cost almost nothing, but you got to replace them, that you can roll across the road and make it so it's safer for somebody using the road for non-motorized purposes to use, and it makes drivers make decisions about things and pay attention to what they're doing. And I think that's our biggest problem with that road, is that drivers don't pay attention to what they're doing, and they don't have to make decisions because it's a racetrack. It's a bowling alley that you can just barrel down.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing it up and for sharing. And I open it up to the board members if anyone has any questions, or if anyone else would like to interject and offer up additional feedback regarding this topic. Yes?
Just general question. Do y'all know what the 85th percentile speed is for the road?
It's in your packet. It's just over 35 miles an hour. They did it based on a 2017 traffic study
2017,
Yeah.
okay.
by the Regional Planning Commission.
Mhm.
So this.
I would just like to add that the Regional
Go ahead, Alice.
Planning Commission has
Cutting out.
You're cutting out a little bit, Alice.
recently stated that
Ask her to turn her video on.
Sometimes, Alice, if you turn your video off, the verbal will come through better.
Is 25.
I'm sorry, Alice. Unfortunately, we're not able to hear you enough right now.
Had is that residential
better.
area. Okay, try that. How's that? Okay, how's that?
That is
Is that
good.
better?
Much better. Thank you.
I'm unvideoed. Okay. A recent
also-
report done by the Regional Planning Committee said that residential recommendation is 25 miles an hour.
25 miles an hour.
We need to give equal time to Joey too. He's on, Joey and Hannah are on from Island Avenue, so.
Joey and Hannah, would you like to speak as well?
Yeah, if we could.
Thank you, and thank you all.
We have, I don't know if anyone's been up Highland Avenue lately, but it's become, with the farm here and we have lots of children, there are always kids in the road, lots of dog walkers, lots of kids. It turns to dirt pretty immediately. And the speed limit is posted at 35. Now it's come to our attention that it's actually meant to be 30 and the signs just haven't been changed, but I think 30 is still too fast for this road. And I really think it should be lowered to 25, although I don't ever find myself driving over 20 when I come up this hill. That's all I have.
Thank you, Hannah.
I just happened to be on Highland Avenue the other day while my mind was thinking about people driving erratically. And I did notice that it was quite a trend of people to just floor it up the hill on that small dirt road with loads of kids playing, in and around the road, cats and dogs out doing their cats and dogs in a neighborhood thing, and climbing trees and everything. But I don't live there, and I still saw it just from a brief visit to a friend's house while I was there. So it seemed outrageous.
I've had many discussions recently with a lot of people who are seeing the increase in speed throughout many areas of Vermont. I have noticed it more so, lately, not just in Berlin, but other places as well. So I think this is a good time to have these topics. And like I said, I open it up for any questions the board members may have or any thoughts and to add to the discussion. Otherwise, we'll take everything under advisement tonight.
There's not room to create lanes though, is there on the bridge or not, or is there?
Sure.
Oh, there is?
You could go to a 10-foot wide lane on those things, which is fine for a residential area. Or even 9-foot wide lanes are fine for a residential area. And just put a barrier almost halfway across that bridge. And if you extended it out a little bit, you would create an area of constriction for traffic where they have to be constricted and slow down, and it would change the line of sight and everything from both sides. And it would create a space for people to walk across or bike across safely.
I'm not sure where the increased traffic is coming from, but probably over, we've lived here 15 years, but there are so many more walkers and bikers, which is great.
Yeah.
It's just it's seriously really not an amazing experience walking up that road to get to the pond, which I think most people, that's where they're going. But you see a lot of walkers right now. It's nice to see. It's just, I think we could do more to protect those on that.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate everyone. Thank you too, Tom. Any other discussion before we move forward?
No, I think we need to definitely look at it and maybe even Tor included the recommended practice for doing a road study as well. I don't think it would hurt to do exactly that and gather the information
Right.
to make the right decision and maybe reach out to the Regional Planning Commission as well
Absolutely.
for some options, right?
Yeah,
I do think the
road
recommended
did
practice.
Give us a couple of
traffic
options of
calming
what
is
we
a
can.
better issue than just speed limits.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're violating 30-mile-an-hour speed limit now, changing to 25 is.
It's not gonna do any good.
It's down,
I
right.
mean, I
Let
agree.
it
It's
run.
not gonna do any good.
Let Peter Grant's house.
We need to do some traffic calming things and what are the best options?
Mhm.
Because they're gonna be different for both areas, because this is a lot different than
Correct. Hi.
Highland Avenue.
Because you've
Yeah.
all brought up much discussion tonight in terms of what you know and see in terms of the conditions. And going with that will help get all of the information necessary to have a recommended decision going forward. I'm in favor of it as well.
Hey, Flo, I just had one more comment.
Sure, go ahead, Joey.
I know that it's if you change the speed limit sign, that's one thing. But I don't know about like in neighborhoods if it's possible. I don't know what the requirements would be to have one of those little radar things that would flash a blue light if you were going so much over it. I don't know what that entails, but I know that it's more than just changing the speed limit and slapping some new signs there. I just didn't know what else, or maybe that's something for the board to think about, or to take away, and just if there was anything else.
Good point. We have used them before, so it's a very valid point and definitely one that we could consider, you know, in terms of doing that as well. Thank you, Joey.
Thank you.
They're about $3,000, about $500 a year, if you want to know.
How much is an ambulance ride for an 8-year-old?
No, we have two of them.
People try to run.
What was that, Joey? I didn't hear what you said.
I was gonna say, what's the comparison of that price and the cost of one ambulance ride for an 8-year-old?
Yeah,
Right.
Just giving us information.
Yeah, understood.
Sorry, I'm just thorny.
No, it's valid and
Yeah.
thank you for presenting that forward. Thank you.
It should be worth noting there have been no crashes on either stretch of road in the past 5 years that have been reported by the police.
There's been crashes at the intersection.
At the intersection, correct, but not on Crosstown Road itself.
And there have been a number of vehicles hitting animals on the road, deer, dogs, mink. I would go out there and there's dead animals all the time. And that's today it's a dead animal. You know, what is it? What's it gonna be tomorrow?
Yeah.
I mean, dead walker, dead biker.
Mhm.
That's the question. But if you're going too fast to slow down for an animal crossing the road, you're going too fast for a person out on the road.
Definitely take the information seriously. Thank you all so much. Appreciate all your time. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right?
So move. And now any other additions or changes to the agenda, Tor?
No.
And any public comment this evening outside of what we've just discussed? Hearing none, we'll move forward. We have with us this evening the Central Vermont Black Bears girls hockey team. Matt Romei is here to talk on behalf of them, and welcome.
Started practicing.
So glad you're with us.
Good evening, Matthew Romei. I live on Haskins Terrace in West Berlin, and for this portion, I represent no one but myself, sitting at the table as I am. So I brought some ammunition behind me, and they're going to bat their sad eyes at you for the remainder of the conversation until y'all give in. I'm here tonight to ask the town of Berlin to sponsor the 12-14 girls select team for the Central Vermont Black Bears. If you don't know who the Black Bears are, this will be the 4th year they've been in existence. Prior to that, you had youth hockey programs in Waterbury, Montpelier, Barry, and Northfield. And this will be the 4th year that all of those programs are operating under one umbrella. One of the really nice things, especially for girl dads as myself, is when they merged, all of a sudden we had enough critical mass to have girls teams. So previous to that, they would play on co-ed teams, and they would actually, because of the way ages worked out, they would have an entire year of full contact hockey with checking before they got old enough to play high school, and then they had to completely change thought processes again. So it was really important for the benefit of everybody to really to have the critical mass to have the girls teams. I can tell you that the Black Bears as a whole, they bring home a couple of state titles every year in different age groups. It's a fantastic program. There are 14 girls right now that identified Berlin as their hometown when they registered. Y'all know as well as I do that that's an artificially low number because of our zip code situation. We know there are more girls than that from the town of Berlin, but we know of 14 that are playing in the program. The 12-14 Select is the last team this year that we're trying to get sponsors for. And I had a discussion with the fire chief and the police chief about the public safety entities in Berlin sponsoring that team this year. They were both very much in favor of it. They see it as a great community outreach and a way to connect with our next generation of public safety professionals. So the cost to sponsor them for the season is $2,000. And that's what I'm here to ask for tonight. Happy to answer any of your questions, or I can get them to turn the waterworks on, either way.
When are the funds needed? What is the timeline?
So if you commit to it tonight, then we can deal with all that. That's not an urgency. Which we sort of needed to know Friday to put the logos on the uniforms, but I think I've gotten a backroom deal to hold off on ordering theirs this year.
So the funds are for the uniform?
Well, it'll be to sponsor the team. When you think about it, they practice at least twice a week, and they usually have 2 games a week. And sometimes 3, sometimes 4.
That's great.
You know, the dad taxi gets its miles in during hockey season. They played as far away, like my girls have played as far away as Messina, New York, and up into Canada, and all the way to Maine and Connecticut. So it's a pretty strong program. But you know, if y'all commit to it tonight, then I'll tell them that y'all the police and fire are on board for the sponsorship, and then we can work out the fund issue whenever that.
I open it up to the board and thoughts and questions and.
Have you talked to the recreation board about this?
I have not. It sort of got really short noticed because I'm like, wait a minute, we don't have a sponsor. Oh crap. So, and I got to move in pretty quick on that. I don't know that the rec board's ever really engaged with the hockey programs because I don't know.
No.
So.
Those are rec board guy behind.
Yeah.
So Teresa's actually the head of our subcommittee on youth sports. And, would you like to?
That's certainly like an interesting idea right now, like typically where the subcommittee just is looking at like up to 6th grade, you know, in terms of the cooperation, you know, and not so much with like the older kids, you know, but I think it certainly opens the door for like other kind of pay to play sports, you know, that aren't included, you know, obviously.
Soccer teams.
Yeah, you know, like club soccer teams, you know, sort of things.
I was, yeah.
So,
Considering that,
you know,
trying to get as many kids as we can do.
Yeah, to do something, yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't know if this reduces like registration fees at all, or if this is just.
It helps out in the overall health of the program, and it reduces some of the things we have to come out of pocket for throughout the year.
I think it's mostly like for ice time. And
Ice time's expensive.
it is, like ice time up at Kreitzberg, so Black Bears, we have multiple home rinks, but Kreitzberg is one we like to use the most. And I don't know what the new manager is doing with that, but ice time for Kreitzberg was very much a lot.
Yeah, we're
So-
familiar with how
Yeah.
Norwich University charges for the usage of the
Yeah.
facility, which is fair.
So
They put a lot of maintenance and time into maintaining their facilities.
a lot of it would be for practice time, game times and stuff like that.
The payback to the town and to the departments is, you know, the logos go on the jerseys, and you get the typical sponsorship advertisement and benefits, if you will. So the other cool thing that the Black Bears do, and they've carried this in from the Berry program, before they merged, is a thing called Friday Night Lights. Every Friday night, Friday Night Lights to a guy from the South, that's high school football, but every Friday night during the hockey season, there is a showcase game at the BOR. And they do all the pregame announcements, and they call the players out by their name and number. And it's a really fun time. And they're really they're pretty high stakes games. They're pretty hard games. And you go on that as a title sponsor, in all the social media and all the advertising. So. And, I can see, the police department, the fire department showing up for those, if that sponsorship is approved.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing it forward to us. And I open it up to the board members too. Yes.
If we did have an outdoor facility here in Berlin that could support ice skating, would that help you alleviate some of your ice time needs?
I wish it would. I've been trying to find a pond hockey tournament for them to go to, but they're all adult pond hockey tournaments. It would have to be big enough.
It would have to be a real.
It would have to be a regulated.
Flat ice and
it'd be tough.
And maybe a cover over it or something crazy like that. Yeah, okay, so.
But if we could figure it out.
Yeah, if we could figure something like that out, that would be awesome. So, but,
I'd love nothing more, but
I tell you, outside hockey's very fun.
Yeah, never done it.
I don't know.
I think it might, in my opinion, it might be interesting, like for the rec committee to explore, like, hey, opening it up to other things outside what we offer through our program, like if it was something that would maybe be more appropriate for folks to apply for like a scholarship for registration fees. So that way it's like, hey, I'm not interested in basketball or soccer, which are our two sports we offer. I want to do hockey or I want to do gymnastics. And then that way it's kind of maybe more equitable versus just one particular age group. But that would be up to the rec committee to kind of look at what they could possibly work into the rec or what they wanted to set aside each year.
right, and that would be where, and then this would be a question to the board, where does that money come from? Does it come out of the recreation budget, which is generally strained, they'll tell you that. Or does it come from somewhere else? Does it come from the public safety elements because they have chosen to give something up from their budget? I don't know. I just don't know. And I'm not throwing out.
Well, the police department does have their community fund, so I would imagine that's where they would look to be taking those funds from. I don't know how much is in it right now, but.
And I know that this year's budget, of course, already spoken for and sailed a long time ago. I know from the fire department, I think we're going to look at putting something in a line item next year for things like this. Down south, we sponsored a team every season. We had an entire wall on our firehouse of, little league teams and everything else, but it was always who got there first. Yeah.
So my thoughts, I would be open to a discussion between the hockey group and not to put them on the spot, but the rec committee, right?
No.
Because I agree with what you said, right? It's about, equity for the kids in town as well, right? I'll just say I'm not a big favor of the select board sponsoring something like that, but going through the rec committee. And if they can reach.
That's what they're for.
Right. And if they can come up with a plan or some sort of agreement, I'm not opposed to increasing the budget by a certain amount, right? To support the swimming program, the ball program, the hockey program. And maybe increase, their budget by a little bit to help offset some of that cost as well. Because it's a benefit to the kids in town as well. So that's my thought on it.
I took this pathway this year because of the timing. It was like the day I emailed you, it was like, I don't think we got enough time, but.
When is the next rec meeting? Is it this Wednesday or next Wednesday?
It will be next
Wednesday.
Is there money? I mean, I think he needs an answer before then, and I don't think that the rec committee's got the money this year to do that, so is there?
I think we would have to come to you
To get the money.
make an agreement like that anyway. We
Yeah,
have
I think
authority.
that's what we'd have to do for this year.
Committee.
Let the rec committee talk to them and maybe come and ask and we can grill the rec committee at that point. What's the plan going forward? And
Public safety department sponsoring it, so do they have, I mean, is there a way to find money in those budgets for this?
Well, like I said, the police department has their community fund, so I would assume that's where they're looking to take it from. Fire department, we don't have anything
Does it-
built in for that.
And I think the police.
And now, could be the corporation, I think would have tons of money that they could put for this.
Well, and when I was talking to Chief Bob Brown, he's like, man, I want to do it, but I don't have a budget. So I think he was hoping that y'all had some in the ashtray.
Do the agencies, sub-agencies in town have the ability to collect and distribute non-appropriated funds? Because taxpayer dollars or appropriated funds that you do your budgeting, everything. The fire department, the police department, do they have an avenue for fundraising? Does Tim over there have an avenue for fundraising outside of appropriated funds? Because I know in other government entities that I've worked for, we had other ways to bring in non-appropriated funds and redistribute them for things like community service, community activities, and do that without tapping into the appropriated funds that we have to ask the taxpayers for every year. That's a question. Can they fundraise on their own? Can the rec committee fundraise on its own and all that?
Well, I think that was kind of the direction they were going at one point.
Right.
With the youth sports.
yeah, I think the answer to your question is like the rec committee is a good example. Yeah, they can do fundraisers.
Yeah.
There's nothing preventing that I'm aware of.
Right.
Pat, have you guys ever done like a GoFundMe program?
We fundraise the entire.
Oh, I understand, but like something specific like this.
And this was, like I said, this was such a short,
And this is
such
just
short
really
suspense.
small dollar, so GoFundMe may do it, right?
Well, so fundraising on behalf of the fire and police departments gets a little hinky. I know the corporation, can fundraise and all that stuff, but, again, we were dealing with short suspense, short notice. Those.
I would suggest that when the rec committee meets, maybe Teresa, you can look into this. What's involved in a GoFundMe for $2,000? It can't be.
Well, so I can tell you, Tom, just so you know, if and this isn't meant to be a pressure of any kind, but not happen tonight, it doesn't happen this year. So it was really supposed to happen prior to August 1st. So, but with the short suspense and short notice and everything, I was like, well, I'll take a swing.
Seems if the police department is supportive, as you've talked to them, and they have a community fund. And there's no better thing to do than get young kids doing sports as opposed to selling drugs at the mall or whatever they do, or even spend all their time on their phones. I mean, it's a great program. I'm familiar with a lot of the hockey programs here, and absolutely great. So if this year, you don't have time to talk about budgeting, and if the police department has that requested amount in their budget and they're supportive of it, is the problem solved?
Well, it's their money. It's not the select board's money to spend it. So the police department would have to approve that.
Police
from
department
their-
ask for the select board.
They won't even have to ask the select board. They can approve it themselves, but the select board can't spend it on their behalf. It's their money.
I
It's
think
not-
what I
it's not the
heard
select
is that
board's.
talking to the police department, they suggested he come to the select.
They were supportive of the sponsorship, but that was hedged on them not having to come up with the money at that level. I imagine that community fund probably get every penny squeals pretty hard. So.
I am certainly in favor of it. I like the fact that the police are too, and they looked at their community fund. I wish that we were hearing that they had it within their community fund, because I think what we're hearing is that it may not be in the budget this year. And I'd rather not turn you down. I know you need a decision tonight, so I open it up to board members if folks have any other thoughts or ideas outside of what I've just mentioned. If there were more time, I'd say a beautiful big bake sale.
Yep.
Because we all love all of that products, and I know just time is of the essence right now, so that makes it harder.
I think the difficulty is, to be quite open, is we don't have it in the budget anywhere right
Right.
now, and
Right.
I'm not sure we can unfortunately make a decision tonight, because we don't know where we could find the money that we're gonna commit if we did. That's my issue as it stands right now.
And that's what I'm
Unfortunately.
hearing as well. Mhm.
I don't know what the process is for reallocating money. It seems as though there's places that we could reallocate money from, but I'm not a budget expert, so I don't know how that works. I feel like we could find it if we looked.
I'm not saying we can't, we probably can, but
It's question is from where?
yeah, from where and how late do we want to stay tonight to do that? If we want to do that, I'm open to. I'm not against it at all. We got to do it the right way as well.
The rec committee have a surplus at all?
I don't know. I'm not looking at the numbers right now.
That'd be the first place to look, though.
Yeah,
It'd be the logical place to go.
Yeah.
And it's possible there's a certain amount that the police community fund has, they may just not have the whole. So between the two resources, that might be an option. But I also hear what Vince is saying, and if.
I mean, I'd like to see it happen as
Me
well,
too, very much so.
but how and where?
Mhm.
this is gonna be the bad guy, but when we have a vote, when we put up things for town meeting, there are numbers like $5,000 for things and $500 for things on the budget vote at town meeting. For sponsoring a specific organization like this, it's a great organization. There are a lot of great organizations out there, but those folks go through the work of doing a petition to get on the budget meeting. It gets in front of the people to make a decision about their money. Essentially, we're making a decision on other people's money tonight, on how you're gonna use it, that normally would be held at town meeting.
Valid point.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
Right.
Certainly, I think something I would bring up with the rec committee would be that we're not sponsoring this specific Berlin youth. It's an entire team where there's like kids from other towns versus like our programs are specifically for Berlin youth. You know what I mean? So I think it would probably be worth exploring a way where you could just target kids from our community, like that are going to these teams that are outside. You know, I know for Berlin, like our numbers have just not been there for our older kids to have an all-girls team for soccer. So we go and ask to pay the registration fee to go to another town, but that's for that one child. It's not like an entire, like, hey, I'm gonna buy all of East Montpelier soccer balls for this, you know, it's, you know, so I think there should be some more discussion to make it a little bit more equitable, because, you know, otherwise you might just be opening the door that every cross city team is coming to ask for sponsorships, and you know, it'd be great to help, but I just don't know if that's.
Well, frankly, your budget's not very substantial, so.
As a thing, we have investigated how to support teams like basketball team, like kids who play on basketball teams, the Green Mountain Select team, the Capital Soccer team, those kind of teams that exist out there. We've tried to work with other organizations like the BOR, who has a basketball fundraising program specifically for basketball. We've reached out to other organizations like that have to try to find ways to do those kind of scholarships for people to be on a team like that. We have not had a lot of success with it. So that's where we are right now, I guess. We're mainly trying to pipeline specifically for kids who are going to be on those teams as opposed to sponsoring a whole team.
Mhm. So as unfortunate as it is, I don't think we can
Is what it is.
say yes tonight.
No, I completely understand. I appreciate you giving it the time.
And we appreciate you
All right.
and wholeheartedly, and everything you girls do as well, and the whole team. Thank you all.
Bye.
Have a good evening.
Thanks for
Thank you
coming.
so much. Take care.
Keep talking next year. This is a thing that we want to do.
Telephone booth.
What was that, Matt?
My telephone booth.
Oh,
That's work.
okay, moving on forward on the agenda. Next on the agenda is the Pine Hill Drive paving. And I'm not sure if anyone from Pine Hill is here tonight. It doesn't appear so. But this is on the agenda because I requested it. I do live on Pine Hill, but the reason that I asked for this to be on the agenda tonight was through two of my neighbors that had asked me when Pine Hill would be paved this year. So the impression, and I can't say it's by all neighbors because I haven't had the discussion with them, not all of them currently, recently, but two neighbors came to me asking when it would be paved this year. And I explained to them that I was under the impression that we would have to have further discussion with the board as to whether Pine Hill would be paved this year, and if so, when. So I wanted it on the agenda so that we could speak about it publicly. I have spoken with the board members and with the chair, who's not here tonight, so I don't know how far we will go in our discussion, but I open it up to discussion amidst the board, and I'm not sure if there's some paperwork in here that we can discuss it all. But the impression from the two neighbors that approached me is that we discussed it as a board. Pine Hill would be paved all the way around the Pine Hill Circle this year, sometime approximately after July. And that there was past discussion per the board as to whether we just paved the apron like it had been again up to the top, or to do all of Pine Hill, including the sub base. And so at one point there was that discussion, and then everything went before the town, like you were talking about earlier about allocating the funds. And my impression was that the funds that were approved through that allocation were for a certain amount for Pine Hill to be fully paved sometime later this year, as well as Scott Hill Road, that it was built into the budget. And that's where my mind left it. So I explained to these two neighbors that I didn't have an answer for them, and they did want to attend tonight, but they weren't sure that they could make it, and I don't believe they are here. So that's why it's on the agenda, and I just open it up for any discussion, thoughts from other board members and all of that. So I thank everyone for their time.
Well, in my opinion, it's a settled issue. I don't know why it keeps coming up every meeting, but it was discussed at one time during the budget process. It's not in the draft 5-year paving plan. As the draft 5-year gravel project plan, it is very low on that. When it first came up during budget season, I asked an engineer his thoughts on what would need to be done. It's not just a simple matter of throwing asphalt down. Okay, that's how we get to the problems we have in this town, is we just put a Band-Aid on it. We put asphalt down on terrible road base to begin with, and that's why they keep falling apart like they do. Well, to do it right, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right.
I agree with that.
And I asked an engineer what would be needed to do that, and he goes, I'm not even gonna tell you because it is not needed. End of discussion right there.
And I understand where you're coming from. What I recall and remember is that Pine Hill at one point was under the 5-year plan to be paved on a particular year. And in that budget season year, I was asked, what were my thoughts? Did it really need to occur? How bad were the potholes? And could it be put off to the following year? And I actually agreed, and I believe it was even in the paper, because here I am on the board, I live on Pine Hill Drive, and I'm being asked, what are your thoughts? And I said, yes, I don't think we need to have it done this year, and I think we need to keep the budget down and taxes, et cetera. And so that happened, and then it was the next budget season when Pine Hill came up again. The concern was to have the entirety, and then I was asked as a board member to go back to all of the residents around Pine Hill and ask them, do you want it paved? Do you want just up through the apron? Do you want the whole thing paved? And if you want it paved, do you want, just like you just said, do you want it to be just slapping down the pavement, or do you want the sub base and everything? And the majority of the residents said that they wanted it. They wanted the whole enchilada with the sub base. And just like you said, if you're going to do it right the first time. And that was their philosophy behind that. And then after I got those numbers from the residents at the very next meeting, which I can't tell you what the date of that was, we as a board discussed it. I brought those numbers forward. Brad was still on the board at the time. And my recollection was that the agreement, majority of the board, was that we go forward with paving all of Pine Hill. And so the two residents that came forward to me just recently, they believe that same thing happened, and that the town agreed upon it based on what was brought before them at the time of voting. And so they don't understand why Pine Hill would not be up for paving. And I did see that Pine Hill is now listed on the 5-year gravel road project plan as opposed to paving. And like you said,
Well,
Tori,
first
at the
of all, keep in
bottom.
mind, we have never had a 5-year plan. This is our first draft of a 5-year plan. We've never previously had a 5-year plan before. Okay, so saying that was previously on the 5-year plan is just correct. Another thing to say is be careful what you wish for. Because like I said, it's not just a matter of coming in and throwing down asphalt on this road. It appears to me, and I'm no engineer or anything, I'm no surveyor or anything, that the center line has drifted over the years. And what's perceived as the gravel center line now is not what's actually recorded in the deeds. So if we're going to do this, we're going to need to start with a survey. And by the way, some of these have shifted. It appears that we've got buildings in the right of way that are going to have to be taken out. And I don't think that people are going to really want to, I think that, people really know what they want when they're asking for this.
Good
On top of
point. I
that,
thought
there is evidence that there used to be ditches and driveway culverts along the road. If that's the case, we're going to have to really, examine if we need those ditches and culverts reinstalled, because we definitely need to get the water off the road and it needs to have somewhere to go. And that's further going to eat up people's yards. So here again, they may say they really want paved roads, but in the end, they really may not.
And I think that would be true of any roads when we're looking at whether to pave or not pave, et cetera. I not so much am wishing for it as just I'm in a situation where I was involved to an extent, then it was brought before the board. And then my understanding is there was an agreed upon action. And I feel that there was a discussion and it may or may not be in minutes somewhere, but I do understand where you're coming from. And I think those are all valid points that we'd have to look at, no matter what road we were looking at in terms of whether we pave or not. So I appreciate that.
So my only comment on this, again, there's, I don't want to say there's a lot of confusion around it, but there is, to Tor's point, right? I mean, I do believe that it was actually put out to bid at one point, and then the floods happened and it was canceled. All paving that following year was canceled. And
We got a price.
and yeah, we had a price that was brought to the board, right? But we had a price.
I do recall that.
For two, I think there was 2 roads. That was one of them that year.
Mhm.
And then the floods came and all the paving that year was canceled because of the flooding and the costs associated with that. And it was never officially brought back to the board again after that, is my understanding. And I did look through the minutes, and it's only referred to twice in there.
Mhm.
And I think, again, it's the best interest of the town to maybe revisit Pine Hill, see where it sits in the new 5-year plan that was established, plus do some research, because I agree. I believe there was, at one point culverts, it's probably shifted over time. Probably have to do a survey and then see what it's really going to cost to do it right. And if the town still wants to do it after that, but because we do keep talking about it. So I think we just need to take a step back, reset, take another look, see what really needs to be done, do it right. Let everybody know what that is and what the cost associated with that is, and then try to make the right decision going forward.
And I
And in
understand.
the meantime, we have the new 5-year plan, which shows actually that it's in pretty good shape right now, because it's in year 4 of the 5-year gravel road plan. So there's a lot of other roads that are in worse condition right now.
Another option is we can always go through with the work, the survey and paving and everything, and just establish a special taxing district on that area.
And what?
Just levy a separate property tax on that portion.
And what I would add is, I think, in terms of how I saw whether we discussed it tonight or not, my inclination and what I said to the 2 residents was that my inclination was to bring it to the very next select board, because I knew our chair was not going to be present. And I have had a conversation with the chair, and he did explain to me that you've done research, and I appreciate that. And that's all good. I do think that more needs to happen in this regard, so that the full understanding is there, because the chair did indicate to me that his belief was that it was not taken out of the budget per se. And I would like to give him the opportunity to discuss it. But the reason that I asked for it to be on tonight's board meeting is because the 2 residents were hoping to be able to be here tonight. So they understood that I was going to ask for it to be on tonight so that we could have this initial discussion. So what I would say, if everyone's in agreement, is that we table it tonight, bring it forward for the next select board meeting when we're all present, and then perhaps if those residents wanted to attend, or others, they could. But I want to make it clear that I'm not asking for it. It wasn't even my discussion at first.
By keeping beating the dead horse. It's not in the budget this year. It's not going to be in the budget this year.
I understand where you're coming from, but I do feel
Show
that
me the budget where it is in the budget.
I don't have that tonight.
It's in your packet. Show me where it's in it. I sent it to you over the weekend, your packet.
I have to apologize to her, but I haven't had a chance to look at that. But I do believe that we as a whole board should discuss this. I'm not saying you're not right. I'm not saying that you haven't done the full research.
What's going to be the end result of the discussions? We don't have the money in the budget this year for it.
So I guess the question that I would say, and that the other residents are concerned about, is why is it not in the budget? Because the understanding is that we as a board agreed upon after I brought those numbers back. And what I recall is that particular night when we were discussing the budget, there was a certain amount of money in the budget when we were also trying to keep it down so that taxes would not go up. And when we looked at those final budget numbers, what I recall was there was additional money that was factored in. We looked at, I'm going to use a hypothetical number. We looked at, say, 90,000. And when we discussed putting the budget forward, there was a little bit of additional money factored in, but we still kept the tax rate down. And then it came before the residents to make a vote. And so that's where my neighbors, two of them, are concerned. They feel that it was in the budget, that it was voted upon, and so they don't understand why it's not. So that's why. I don't feel it's beating a dead horse.
It was discussed, but it was not in the budget that was voted on.
And I can
Either by when the board adopted the budget or when it went to the voters for approval. So I think that's just a message you need to take back to them. It was not in the final budget.
So, sorry, so I've only been through 2 budget cycles. First one had Pine Hill in it. We took it out and said we would do it the next year. Because we were trying to cut back. I have the same recollection that it was in there for the second year. But I don't see a line item on any of the budgets that I looked at that I had at home. So it was either on a paper, I don't know what happened to it. I can't recall whether I do think it was in there at one point, but I don't recall the outcome. So sorry that I can't help you with that.
And that's the only reason I want to bring it to the next meeting. I don't see it as beating a dead horse. I just feel that it needs to be discussed specifically because I did have a conversation with the chair who indicated to me that he did not believe it had been taken out of the budget. Past that, the discussion didn't go any further and he couldn't be present tonight. And like I said, I wouldn't have brought it tonight. I would have preferred to wait until next meeting when we're all together. But I did put it on tonight's meeting because I thought I knew those 2 residents wanted to come tonight if they could make it happen. And it just didn't. So no disrespect to anyone. Did you want him to speak, Tim?
I just putting, like, the only time that I've ever gotten a budget figure on that road was prior to the 2023 flood. And at that meeting after the flood, it was decided to take all the paving off the board. And it was never discussed as far as I know, again, and I never have gotten an updated price to pave that road since the winter, early spring of 2023 as just a ballpark, what's it gonna cost? That's as far as it's ever gone, as far as I've been involved.
And it's all helpful. All of the discussion we're having tonight
So
is extremely helpful and it's recorded.
It's been over 2 years since that's been shipped away, and it wasn't,
I mean, Flo, I'm not sure. I mean, I think the answer is it's not in the budget at this point, clearly. I would suggest that unless there's some sort of documentation, that it's not gonna change. So I'm not sure it's worth having another conversation, to be honest with you. I mean, I did try to look through some of my former budget versions, because there was at one point a detailed one that had the names of the roads, but I didn't find anything. So I didn't look exhaustively, but I guess I'm not sure that there's gonna be a different outcome, so I'm not sure that I don't know, I that's up to you, but I don't feel that us discussing it again is going to change the outcome.
And perhaps we won't, or maybe we will, but I appreciate everything everyone's done and all of the feedback and the open discussion tonight. So at that, I will move on off this topic and then we will determine if it will be on the next agenda. I would leave that up to the chair's decision, and I know he will be back for the next meeting. And I thank you all for listening and for being patient and for the openness in this discussion. So thank you all. Thank you, Tim. And now we will move on to the ice rink solar sun common discussion. Thank you so much for waiting patiently for us.
Happy to be back with you all.
We're glad you're here.
I think.
We like good news.
Would you like me to go ahead and share? I have just a couple of slides here that I think will help refresh everybody's memory about what we're talking about. All right, let's see. I think this is.
That comes nice and clear.
It'll work. We'll see.
Mhm.
Read everything, but at least help me organize my thoughts. So I'm Mike McCarthy. I'm the Director of Sales at Suncommon. It feels a little bit like Groundhog Day because Tom and I have been working on this project for you all for a couple of years now, I think. The whole idea here, I think, from the start was that folks involved with your recreation committee were really looking for a creative way to finance everything they wanted out of this ice rink project. So their main motivation really wasn't about a solar project. It was, how can we use solar in order to subsidize having the structure over our ice rink, new ice rink, and the improved facility underneath of it for, I think we're talking about basketball and pickleball underneath there in the warmer months as well. So the idea here, just to refresh everybody's memory before I talk about the news, we were proposing a solar canopy, a steel structure that would go over the ice rink. It would be 218 kilowatts and be basically the biggest project you can do and get the higher rates per kilowatt hour in Vermont. And it would include decking for water management. And by virtue of it being an energy facility, all of the available grants and tax credits under Section 48E would apply. So this was the original kind of latest quote that we had. It might be a little hard to see, so maybe I can zoom in here to what I think is the most important and pertinent part. So the total budget of the canopy and the solar, I know there was another $500,000 or $600,000 in the ice rink project itself underneath that was not included in our scope. The subsidy from the federal, it's called an elective pay, sometimes called a direct pay grant. That's a grant in lieu of the tax credits that a for-profit entity would get, right? Mm-hmm. So that was created in 2022 legislation, the Inflation Reduction Act. And there was a lot of controversy, I think, locally when you put up some additional funding to cover the gap and to cover the increase in the total upfront budget of the project in order to be able to take advantage of this grant and the utility savings, the money from the electricity production over time. That was related to whether or not that direct pay grant would survive the politics of the new administration and the new Congress that had just been elected. Turns out there was a giant reconciliation bill that was signed into law on the 4th of July, and it actually preserved, in large part, all of the commercial solar tax credits. So you may have read in the news that there were big changes in that bill to residential solar policy, and so those direct Section 25D, the residential tax credits that a lot of homeowners use to directly offset their cost of a solar installation, those are going away on January 1st. The commercial tax credits for projects like this and bigger utility scale projects, they are preserved, including the direct pay and elected pay provisions, as long as projects commence construction or do what's called a material safe harbor. So that's purchasing a small portion of the materials will basically lock you into the current tax policy. It's a good idea to do that before December 31st if you want to be able to use whatever equipment you like. There are some new provisions that I'll talk about in a second, but basically we can still get about $400,000 in the direct pay grant based on the new legislation because those policies were preserved in this bill. So these points kind of summarize what I just said. The things to note about the provisions in the reconciliation bill: the commercial solar tax credits for projects like this were preserved. The safe harbor provision where you can buy 5% of the total cost of your project worth of materials. So if you've got $1 million project, you buy $50,000 plus worth of modules or inverter, some piece of the project, and you can count as commenced construction. And then you have up to 4 years from the anniversary of the bill being signed to actually place your system in service. So actually, you wouldn't necessarily need to do the project right away if you did that, and you'd still have the ability to apply for the direct pay grant. I think it's important to note, and I have talked to some of you about this over the last few days, that it is a reimbursement. So you have to finance the money for the whole project up front, and then the federal government pays you back in the following year. You essentially, even though the town of Berlin, of course, doesn't pay income taxes, you file some forms that are like an income tax statement and say you made this investment in a qualifying renewable energy facility, and then you get the roof over your ice rink paid for 40%. So that's nice.
Can you just go into the 30-10 that we talked about?
Yes. So the base amount for any of these commercial renewable energy facilities that are covered under Section 48E like this is 30%. So for these size projects, it's 30 cents on the dollar is the base amount. And then you get a 10% bonus if you can show that more than 45% of the materials involved in the project, or the cost of the materials rather, come from domestically produced, US made and manufactured materials. It's easy to hit that threshold with a steel canopy because TerraSmart, our partner that's going to do the canopy if this project moves forward, they use American steel and are Build America, Buy America compliant. And so it'll be pretty easy for us to hit that threshold in combination with some of the other equipment that we would install related to the solar.
And the reason I asked him to explain that is because I know when we went through this before, I was confused. I thought, is it 30%? Is it 40%? Because I thought it was amorphous as to which one it was going to be. And after talking recently, I discovered that it is 30%, but the 10% is pretty much a guarantee based on being able to use US steel. So that helped me to understand the grant part.
And how you get to the 40%. That's excellent. That's good news.
And then I just wanted to give you a sense of kind of where we are and how this policy kind of fits into the timeline of where the project is. So we've done a lot of the project development work. There's engineering, there's interconnection approval. So we're allowed to hook the project up if we're awarded a certificate of public good. Green Mountain Power has given us all the technical sign off. We had applied, we had submitted the 45-day notice and then applied for the certificate of public good. That's the state permit to do a renewable energy project and interconnect it. They came back to us with some questions, and then the project was kind of paused. I'm ready to move forward under our original small development agreement that we have with the town. I didn't want to incur any more work on the project until I had some path forward with you all. But I think we can go ahead and complete that certificate of public good response to the Public Utility Commission. So I'll amend my testimony to the Public Utility Commission on your behalf. We'll get that approved in probably a couple of months following when we submit that. And then the next piece would be to go back with the confidence that the direct pay grant survived the policy debate in Washington, D.C., and hopefully get the additional financing approved. Would be up to you whether you want to go back to the voters and ask them now that there's more certainty about that. So I think that's really the next decision that's before you all, is if you want to go back knowing that the bill included the extension of these direct pay and try to do the project. And then assuming you did that and you wanted to move forward, I strongly recommend that we work with you. If you, for instance, sometime in the fall went before the voters on that financing question and put down something like 7 to 10% of the cost of the total project in order to secure and guarantee that you can safe harbor, like lock in the 25 rules. What's going to happen in 2026 wouldn't make the project impossible to do and still get the direct pay grant, but it will greatly restrict which equipment you might be able to use. There were provisions in the bill, the acronym is FEOC, if you ever hear that. I apologize for all of us. It's foreign entities of concern. So they basically, what it boils down to is You can have any of the components in your materials be from China or other countries, but the stuff we're thinking about is really from China with the global supply chain that really narrows down.
And would increase cost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if we buy a small portion of the project and equipment by December 31st, though, we don't have to worry about those FIAC provisions at all. So,
All right, question. What's the trigger for getting the money back from the federal government? Does the project have to be complete to get the money back from the federal government, or does all the stuff have to be bought, or what?
Yeah.
What gets the money back?
So the project has to be placed in service. So you have to completely install it.
Okay.
And then in the tax year following the placed in service, you basically file a direct pay form with the IRS and they cut a check back. Town of Charlotte just went through this process with their town garage project.
All right. I'll explain why I thought I wanted to ask that. My hope was that you just have to buy all the stuff, because if we bought the stuff with our bonded money and then got the money back, then we could build the surface and then put the thing up. But if it has to be in service, that would mean we would have to build the canopy, put it into service, and then get the money back and then build underneath it, which I don't know if that's a reasonable course of action. But
No.
That's my understanding as you just described it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good question.
Yeah, and I would say talking to the municipal bond bank about the timing and how they're helping municipalities take advantage of this, providing some technical advice that's unbiased. Like, obviously, I want you all to buy the project from us. I think that Mike Gahn and other folks at the municipal bond bank could be really helpful in just navigating some of the timing of and how your bonding and financing would relate to taking advantage of the grant in the least expensive way.
Thank you so much for being here and for presenting it and bringing the good news. And
What does
I open it
everyone
up for
think?
the board's ideas and thoughts and questions.
I would support having an election, a special election to put this before the voters, because I don't think anybody's comfortable doing it without.
I
approval.
definitely think it's gotta go before the voters again.
Correct.
So
Without question.
I don't know what that costs, but I think it's worth it to try to get this. I mean, I think the certainty now of the money and along with the return, I just think this project would be a nice move forward.
I think it's definitely, I think we should be open to discussion about it, and all of us as an entirety board. And if anyone has any questions, while folks are here tonight, feel free to pose them, but I think we just need to discuss it further and determine the outcome. But this is good news.
No, we need to revisit it.
Definitely revisit it.
Great.
Thank you so very much, Mike.
What's the next steps? Are we gonna talk to the bond bank? Are are others in favor of doing
I
that?
think we need an updated pro forma. We got the cost of the rink earlier this year and updated construction costs, and I think that'd be helpful to generate a new, updated warning language.
I'd like to throw in as a member of the rec committee that I would not like to see this go before the voters until the numbers are.
That's where I was just gonna say, what Tor was saying, I was gonna say, we gotta have a clear picture of what the costs are, what the construction looks like, when the bond money. We gotta have a clear picture of all of that and how it rolls out.
Yeah.
Before we go to the voters. That's gotta be crystal clear, I think, this time.
Yeah, there was much confusion on that, and I think that's why we lost this project. In addition to the grant being in question.
Yeah, I agree.
That people just did not understand what was on the ballot.
Yeah.
And it was a big scary number that scared a lot of people, and there are certainly people out there who are just against spending money ever. And there are people out there who are against solar power for whatever reason. And that But there were a number of people who just did not understand what was happening and
Yeah.
voted no because they didn't understand. They saw a big scary number and voted no.
Yep, I agree.
If we're gonna do this again, we need to make it very clear what's happening.
I do have one question also, right? The 10% is not guaranteed, right? It's dependent upon the paperwork.
Right, so
Who's responsible for putting that paperwork together? The contractor?
yeah, so we would put in our contract that we're committing to achieving your domestic content, and we would show you a table to show you which equipment we're using to achieve
Because
that. And letters.
Those documents aren't always easy to get.
Yeah.
From some vendors.
It's become part of the trade. What's nice is that the manufacturer in Ohio, TerraSmart, that we've used for the other steel canopies most of the other steel canopies that we've done, they are willing to, they have letters of compliance that give a lot of confidence from a big steel manufacturer that they're using all US made steel. And since that is such a large portion of the project, it's pretty easy to hit the 45% of your material costs on the combined solar plus canopy, because it's such a significant amount of the materials. It's just the steel itself.
Yeah, because that's gonna have to be very clear too, as we were just talking, that it seems like it's only 10%, but it's 10% of a pretty big.
No, that's
Right.
definitely,
It's,
they think that threshold will be easy. We talked about that it would be easy to meet, so.
So we've been through numerous budgets on the project, so we have, I think, some comfort with the solar piece. I saw some heads nodding today from Mike's presentation. The outstanding issue would be the ice rink. The solution to that would be us to go back to Du Bois and King, who did the original estimate, and ask them for their opinion of probable construction costs. That should be a relatively easy thing to achieve. It could probably be done by the next select board meeting. And I would hope then at that time you have Suncommon's number, you'll have numbers from a third-party engineer, then the select board can make a decision at their next select board meeting. Is that a consensus of that?
Well, I mean, how would that be different than the bid we got previous to the spring?
We got one bid, it was, other contractors were interested, and when they realized that the voters didn't approve it, they just didn't
want to waste their time putting a bid together.
But I'm saying we have an actual bid from a actual contractor versus an engineer.
I would trust the engineer's estimate over the contract.
Or the people who are actually doing the work.
Yeah. It would be a bigger pool. These folks don't do this kind of work, and it was evident. And again, that's would be my suggestion of the select board.
Okay.
Let me start working the numbers, yeah.
Sounds good, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you all.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
I'm just nitpicking a little bit, but it'd be nice to see this project called the Recreation Pavilion Project or something like that instead of the ice rink project.
Recreation center.
Because we can't, every time I look and see ice rink, I know there's a whole group of pickleball players that we've
Left out.
kind of left out.
So
And
you
by the
said
text,
recreation pavilion project.
We called it a
Something like that?
recreation center for a long time.
Recreation center, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, we could stick to that, I think would help. And I talked to a friend of mine who's from Waterbury, and twice a week he goes to Berrytown to play pickleball, and they have a sign-up sheet you do on computer. I guess it's pretty popular. He comes all the way from Waterbury and plays in Berrytown.
that's cool.
So
Yeah, there's a whole thing. There's an app specifically for.
you gotta
Yeah.
actually sign up. It's that busy, so.
Yeah.
just a-
The other thing that like to remind everybody with the recreation facility is, even if we have those nets out there, if there's a basketball hoop, if there's a pickleball net or tennis court or tennis net, whatever it is, we would like those things to be able to pull up, and then we have a covered space that we can use for other town activities, for whether it's gonna have somebody play some music over here like bandstand, or have a space for a town meeting in a pinch because the school's not open, or summertime get-togethers, whatever. It's a covered space with a concrete floor and people can go there to do stuff. And we can put the nets back in place and use it for the sports that we want. So,
That's a good point.
Is that on our DRB permit and
that was in
pro forma, not on the pro forma?
that was in our
bid from-
initial pro forma to do that. Yep.
That's wonderful. Thank you
Yep.
very much for bringing that forward. And thanks for all of your involvement tonight and participation.
That's
Okay.
it for us.
Thank you. Have a great evening. And I do see we have
Thanks,
additional
Tom.
folks on with us, and thank you for being here.
You don't want to
Tom.
stay any longer on it?
Our chair, John Staub, is with us as well, and some others have joined the meeting. And so welcome. Any of you would
John,
like to
call him
speak?
John.
I'm reading it right off the screen. Good evening, Joe. Okay, we will move on now to the private road naming Redfern Lane.
You want to take this one, Tom?
I'm assuming it was in our packets, so off of Route 12, there's, you may recall, this is coming up common theme for the select board, that especially like accessory dwelling units are built, requiring an E911 number. Anytime you have 3 units of housing off of I'll call it an extension of a road, there has to be, E911 requires that you have a dedicated lane. Primarily, the last one we did was LB Lane off of Rowell Hill Road. And so this is similar vein here off of Route 12. Actually 4 units there. We vetted Redfern Lane with the folks from E911. There are no local nor regional conflicts with that. We have draft numbering there for your consideration. And it's a requirement of E911 to do this, and I would encourage the select board to vote positively on this recommendation.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks
This
for
is
that recommendation.
Redfern, just one word.
Redfern Lane.
I'll make that.
Stop.
Do that?
Docklands corner,
Where's that?
the big corner where the river comes up, coming out.
On Route 12.
Wall.
About where MRVs is?
No,
River's
no. Past Pine Hills coming toward Northview Falls.
Northfield, go down through the walls, and when you come down where the river comes up close to the
Oh,
road,
where the draft site is right there.
just up past there, we come up
Mhm.
top of the hill.
Mhm.
Did you move to?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Tor.
I'll second.
Thank you, Carla. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mhm.
Motion carries. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
And now we'll move on to the Gateway Avenue Construction Bid Award.
So, update from the amount we had last meeting, meeting with, all the engineers. Going back and forth on a couple issues, on a couple items. Some reduction in the catch basins and associated stormwater piping. They're gonna reroute it through the, gonna design to reroute through the Chipotle lot and basically piggyback off of their stormwater as opposed to going directly into the stormwater pond and eliminate, a couple sections of sidewalk, especially one that was gonna be in front of the Starbucks, which kind of well, it didn't go to nowhere, but it started from nowhere. So we felt, it was okay, we weren't losing anything there. And then eliminate some of the sections of the retaining walls. But we do still feel there needs to be a pedestrian barrier there. Which would be, it could be taken more in the shape of a fence rather than the retaining wall. So the new revised amount is $1,670,320. With those reductions and a few things added back in, which I would recommend accepting that amount. And I'll make that.
So it's all worked out?
Correct.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
And we just got our V-Trans 1111 permit today, and we're still waiting on Act 250.
Okay, thank you so much.
Excellent.
Great news, good work. Very good, thank you. And now we'll move on to the fire department stipend pay schedule and billing for non-emergency services.
So there's really two things here, and we talked about the pay structure at the last meeting, but we kind of forgot to talk about the other one. So going back to the pay structure, this has been vetted through the responders. I don't think there's any major changes from what Joe presented at the last meeting. But one thing we're still looking at is the idea of an officer stipend, because, being officers, they do quite a bit of work above and beyond just the responding to calls. And so the proposal is to look at the remaining funds at the end of the year and then split those up based on the officer duties. But other than that, Joe feels this is ready to be acted upon. Matt, I don't know if you wanted to add anything in here.
Well, I'm happy to answer any questions you've got about it. I think you brought up the officer stipends very well. There's been an officer stipend when we were on the point system, built into the system, but moving from that to a sort of an hourly model, I think we all knew this was going to be a little messy this year, trying to figure this stuff out. So the officers were willing to put ours aside for now and make sure that all the responders, quite frankly, get taken care of. We did identify one more little hiccup today, as a matter of fact, when Joe and I were talking. We have a cadet, and that's not reflected anywhere. We're not really sure what to do with that. Quite frankly, if I could put her into a copy machine and spit out about 20 of her, we'd be in great shape. But do you make decisions based on this black swan of an individual that's just hitting a home run every time she walks in the door? So we don't really know what to do with that.
I'm not understanding.
We don't have a pay rate for a cadet.
Isn't it a volunteer?
Well, yeah, we all are.
So, I mean, what's the difference?
Well, okay, we can do that. Do we just put her right in, or do we try to make another classification? Because
she's non-certified, or would she be considered a firefighter one?
She's non-certified.
Non-certified. So you've got a non-certified, to Carla's point. Why just roll her right in?
I would assume that.
Yes, I would too.
Well, the difference is we can't put her in places that we can put our non-certified people. And so she has a little
Still doesn't,
contracted scope of.
doesn't detract from the work she
What she
does.
does do.
And it sounds like she deserves kudos, the way you
And she
described
rolled
it.
hose Saturday night, and I'm like, wow, that's done, okay. So,
Yeah, that would be my recommendation. I
Yeah.
wouldn't create something. I'd go with the non-certified position.
Mhm.
Standard
It makes sense.
cadet or not.
we kind of, we're talking about that this afternoon, but, to the point, with the officer stipends and stuff, we've talked, Joe's in Colorado, and we've talked.
Always on right now. I
He's on right now,
He
and
would like to interject. You're welcome to, Joe.
we've talked a couple of times since he's left town, so it just, it never ends,
Mhm.
in that role, so.
Well, I know
We have
last
no
time-
idea how this is gonna shake out.
And,
this year.
and that's what I was talking
No
about earlier. You used the word messy,
Messy,
I
not
don't
in
wanna
a
say-
bad way.
I don't want to say messy.
Yeah,
but
messy has a
it's-
negative
it's,
connotation. We have no idea how it's gonna
It's,
shake out.
I want to say fluid, but we got to do something.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's a starting point, and it might totally change next year.
Well, that's my point. My recommendation is gonna be
Prove it for a
But-
year.
approve this for 1 year only, right? To see what works and doesn't, and then come back with a revised version
Update is needed, yeah.
after we learn from it.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think any of us have a problem with that. We needed to get something in there, and then, comes the rest of the questions. Okay, how we gonna submit this stuff monthly, quarterly?
Right.
And as a board, we just asked Joe to bring it forward and have that discussion, which has happened now. And so now we have this and it's good feedback and you've been able to, present tonight as well.
Yeah.
And,
I think implementing it is the question, but I think just, first approving it. and then,
Approve
yeah.
this for a year, understanding that
Yeah.
we're expecting to see it be revised as the year goes on. And then have something a little more,
Or evaluate,
less fluid
evaluate it.
next year, right?
Yeah.
would you like to restate that as a,
As a motion?
Motion?
Sure.
thank
I'll
you.
make a motion to approve this as is for the period of 1 year. With the understanding that the expectation of the board is, after that year, we come back, we get presented something that's a little more concrete and
The results of what happened.
the results of what worked and what didn't. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Very good. So moved.
So
Thank
then the
Thank you.
other issue that we forgot to talk about last meeting was non-emergency services. And what that is things like the sprinkler tests, fire system tests, filling pools and things like that. Just like any other organization, 20% of the people does 80% of the work. And, it is a big time commitment on them to do that. It's also wear and tear on the equipment. While there is training benefits to it, there should be.
There's also a cost to it.
There should be a cost and that cost should be recouped by the department and passed on to the people actually doing the work. So we don't have any definitive numbers or any plan yet, but just wanted to get on your radar screen. That's something we need to be talking about.
Makes perfect sense.
Thank you.
I think what we've done so far with that, when we've had those, is we build the FEMA rates, which is insufficient for the wear and tear and everything else we're doing, but it's the only schedule we have, so.
Mhm.
So as far as implementation on this, I guess it's probably a question to you. How do we implement that pay schedule now?
I'll have to work with Joe.
Okay.
Maybe
I
Carol.
don't know, has everybody submitted their, yeah, so I don't know. if you even
I
have
did mine,
everybody.
so.
Would Carol be helpful on maybe how to do this or not?
It's just a matter of how we get with getting the information from the fire department, number of calls, number of hours.
But how often do you think it's
That'd be a
monthly?
question to do with monthly, quarterly. I don't think
We've waffled between monthly and quarterly
Yeah.
as far as kind of our recommendation. I just want to make sure we don't get sideways with the policies or whatever. I know our records system, well, I've gone in there and modified things as of July 1. So we can actually populate a pretty nice report to, as long as our reports are getting entered.
The treasurer's gonna have to set up accounts for that as well, right? And this is gonna go under payroll, or also with the payroll company. That'll have to be set up as well.
But she needs the W.
She needs all the
first,
information from everyone first, yeah. Set it up.
Anything else from us?
I think that's all.
So
Thank you.
I will say publicly, I appreciated Bartlett Road, setting up that was wide enough to pass 2 trucks.
No tickers in the ditch this time?
No, I got really close with one of our trucks and I'm like, nope, I'm just not moving. You're gonna have to drive around me. But, all right. That's all.
Thank you.
That's all I've got.
Thank you.
Appreciate everyone.
Sorry
Thank you.
about the hockey. Feel bad about it.
I don't wanna throw us off to it, but I know this is in the package, but it's not on the agenda.
What is it?
That's the paving bids?
That was part of the Pine Hill.
Oh, it was?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Showing that it wasn't.
I missed that. Okay.
That's all right.
That it wasn't.
Hey. I was just trying to think of some place where he could hit tomorrow for sponsorship. Try like Blue Cross Blue Shield or. I know people.
They're already sponsored.
Oh, they are. I was gonna say, I know people there.
Thank you. Okay, next up on the agenda is the right-of-way permit for Coos Trail.
Here we have Jeff Oleski online with representing the applicant. This is a curb cut application for the new car wash / storage facility at the corner of Coos Trail and Airport Road. So Jeff, I'll let you take it away.
Yeah,
Thank
good
you,
evening,
Jeff.
everyone.
Good
Yeah.
evening.
Thanks for having me. Just clearly for the record, my name is Jeff Oleski with Catamount Consulting Engineers. I'm the civil engineer for the project. And yeah, what's in front of you tonight is a very temporary construction access curb cut request off of Coos Trail to support the essentially initial phase of the construction of this project, really just to accommodate what will be the permanent access off of Airport Road. So the DRB a month or two ago approved the original development plan for this project. And as we were going through the state permitting process, there was a little hiccup with our AOT work permit, our curb cut application with AOT off of Airport Road. And there's an existing field drive that comes off Airport Road that accesses this property. And we were originally given the impression that we'd be able to utilize that curb cut as part of the permanent access to the property because it sits on this awkward little triangular piece of property that is owned by the state of Vermont, but it's affiliated with the airport. And so unfortunately, when we filed that application with AOT, we got some pushback on utilizing that. So because of that, we had to shift the curb cut a little bit further north and east, maybe 75 feet or so. But the issue with that is at that location, there's a very steep existing drop off from Airport Road to the property. So we can't really access the project site from there directly. And so just kind of anticipation of AOT, we've got our AOT permit now for the relocated curb cut. And we anticipate still utilizing the existing gravel drive to build the initial phase of this project and get the permanent curb cut in there. But the event that AOT does not allow us to do that, this is kind of plan B. It's a temporary stone construction entrance, again, off Coos Trail. And it'd be there for maybe a week or two while we build up the permanent curb cut to serve the project. And then it would be completely removed and restored. So that's kind of what's in front of you today. I have some plans I can pull up if anybody's interested or hasn't looked at the project, but I guess I'll turn it over to the board with any questions.
I see your completion date is October 15th. When would you begin if it was approved?
Pretty much, we have the DRB meeting tomorrow evening, for
Okay.
just the amendment, application, to, again, just more or less address this change in the curb cut. Almost everything else on the site plan is staying the same, so we anticipate that going well. If we get, initial sign off from the DRB tomorrow night, it would probably be in very short order, in the next week or so. So we'd file the building permit with the town and get going there, because the owners, anxious to get going in hopes of getting a lot of the site work done before the winter hits. So
Very good. Thank you, Jeff.
Tim, have you taken a look at it? Any issues, concerns?
If it's temporary, no. Permanent, I think a lot of things would have to happen, but for
Okay.
temporary use, it's fine.
Okay.
And Jeff, what is the estimated cost of just this driveway? Installation and removal?
Oh, of just the temporary driveway installation?
Yeah.
I mean, there's something associated with it, but truthfully, probably everything that we'd use there to put that road in would ultimately get reallocated to the project scope. So we're talking a minimal amount here. Maybe say, geez, I don't know, that the pipe will get reused, so it's not really a sunk cost. So $500 or $1,000, somewhere in that range, is probably what, if you were going to build it just temporarily. If you needed a hard number, I could certainly provide one via the contractor. It's actually going to be J. McDonald. It's going to be doing the site work here, so pretty large, reputable firm.
Okay, yeah, 'cause in your email, you'd asked about a fee. There is no actual fee for the permit. But we do require a bond or a deposit. So would $1,000 be an acceptable amount for you?
Yeah, as a bond, I'm sure that's fine.
Like I say, and it's returnable, it's refundable.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, I understand. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Jeff.
I move to approve the curb cut.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So move. And again, thank you for your time, Jeff. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Yeah,
You too. And now we're going to move on to the upcoming tax sales on the agenda.
So we had two properties coming up for tax sale on September 3rd. And part of our process is if we wanted to schedule a site visit for either of those properties prior to our next meeting before the tax sale, in case the town wanted to place a bid on either of the properties. The two properties are the estate of Helen Weinbrecht off of West Hill Road, which is about a half-acre parcel of land, and the second is a unlanded mobile home on, I think it's 3 Mile Bridge Road or Junction Road.
3 Mile Bridge Road, it says here.
We definitely do not, I would recommend us that we're not interested at all in placing a bid on the unlanded mobile home. The problem with the Weinbrecht property, this property's been going on forever, is that state law changed July 1st, and we can no longer do a tax sale if they owe less than $1,500 in back taxes, which this property does. So we went through all this work, been going through this work for 2 years on this property. And now we can't even tax sale it, so it's kind of a moot point.
You can't even if it was in process?
Correct.
No grandfather to it.
Like I said, it's half an acre of undeveloped lot. If you remember from our discussion on Thursday with the tax appeal, the lots are graded and it's like it's not an but it's the same type of concept, you know.
Similar.
3 is good, 0 is better. I mean, 3 is good, 3 is the best, 0 is worse. This lot is graded at a 0.5, so it's down there close to being bad. So even if we could have taxed out, I don't know that we as a town would have wanted to put in the bid for it.
Right.
Right. Thanks for offering that up.
So
No action.
No
action and no options. It just sits.
Yeah.
And so
Ellen passed away, I think, in 2002. Her husband died in 1975. I guess it was her brother was paying taxes on it for a while out of Pennsylvania, and he decided, I don't want to deal with it anymore. And I mean, he's elderly as well.
Sure.
We had to we had to get a copy of her death certificate, which we couldn't. Finally, I got and we couldn't find an obituary anywhere on her. Finally, you signed up for a free subscription to newspapers.com.
Yeah.
You found the obituary.
I did.
And you canceled the subscription right away, but you still get emails from newspaper.com if you want to come back. And then there's such a thing called findagrave.com.
Wow.
Which we were able to find her gravestone, which I think was in Massachusetts on that. So
Oh my God.
Bernie's finally felt comfortable that
She
she had passed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, detective tour.
Where's the property on West Hills?
Tim was asking where on the west hill it's located.
I thought, what you sent us, I think had a map. It's right, I think it's right after you turn off Chandler and start up around there. I think it's up on the right-hand side, if I'm not mistaken. It's not far from that corner.
Bonnie's land's all the way there.
It's only half an acre.
Yeah, it's just a small.
Animal size.
Left,
Yeah,
there
was a map in what you sent us. I looked at
There
it.
was, yeah, up at still Town View. All right.
So next up on the agenda is the Beamers regarding the offering of Group C plan to non-union employees.
So currently the police department is or changing over to Group C. Everybody else is in Group B. There's been a couple requests from non-union personnel to also be allowed to switch over to Group C. Which I don't have a problem with. I think it's good to keep everybody on the same playing field. So I will make that motion to offer Group C Vermeer's plan to all non-bargaining unit employees.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Wait.
Or any discussion?
How does this relate to our previous conversation about one not being offered that we had to ask for? Was it C or was that a different one?
That was C.
So how come we
But
cannot?
Well, in order to offer it, we need to make the motion to offer it, and then it still has to go through Vermeer's.
Okay, so it's still, and it won't start till January?
May not, I don't know, it depends. The
Is it?
state's kind of backing off on that July 1st, yeah. So.
Yeah, because normally I think it would be like July 1st, not next year. I think they would be
That was
able to
because we missed it.
enroll.
So.
We did for this year, but if the state.
They're apparently kind of open, since we're this early into the year.
They may.
They may.
Okay, well.
Open to the potential?
Right.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
So moved. Next on the agenda is the approval of the warrants and the minutes.
I guess it's next to me.
Thank you in advance.
Events.
I'll make a motion to approve payroll warrant 26-02 for payroll from July 13th, 2025 to July 26th, 2025 to be paid on July 30th, 2025 in the amount of $69,369.46. Also, make the move to payable warrant 26G2 with check number 25172 to 25203 in the amount of $186,946.73. Got the thousands on there. $186,946.73.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So move.
And just for the record, that does include the 2 police department cruisers that we budgeted this year came in.
I saw those in there.
Yeah.
64 grand and change each.
128,000, we had budgeted 150,000.
Yeah.
Mhm. Very
That's
well.
good. There's 2,000.
Except it's capital budget, it can't.
We can't reallocate from capital budget?
No.
No. Okay, so now we'll open it up for roundtable, starting with,
Minutes.
oh, yes, thank you. So next is the approval of the warrants and the minutes.
We just did.
We did the warrants, but the minutes was at the end, and that's why I missed it. So I saw the approval of the warrants and didn't see the word minutes at the end. So now if we can approve the minutes.
I'm gonna approve the minutes of July 21st.
Thank you, Carla.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So move. And now I'll open it up for roundtable, starting with you, Vince.
I don't have anything new at this point tonight.
Okay, thank you. Carla?
In the interest of time, I'm gonna pass.
Okay. Tour?
Included in your packet, the letter from UVM Healthcare about the proposed layoffs. That's been in the paper already. Then also at the last meeting, Keith Cubbin from Vermont Regional Planning attempted to talk about a grant for the Regional Planning Commission. They have received word that they can apply directly for that grant, so they do not need to go through the town of Berlin anymore on that.
Good.
Oh, good.
Okay, good to know. And are we still anticipating an executive session? this
Oh,
evening?
yes.
I will enter, I will.
Can I chime in?
You sure can, Joe.
Okay.
No.
I second that, no.
Go ahead.
All right.
Sorry.
I ended up sending an email. One of the members of our department, Kaylee Baleris, is going to be heading up an AED and CPR awareness class. We're looking to do this maybe quarterly, something like that. We haven't necessarily set the date. I don't know if really I'm looking for approval or anything from the select board. I'm just saying that this is going to be one of those community outreach that is really important for the fire department and yeah, in the community.
Great.
So
I love that idea.
Understood. Thank you, Joe.
that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks
Now I'm here
again.
for executive session.
Wonderful.
I move to make a specific finding that premature general public knowledge would clearly place the town of Berlin at a substantial disadvantage regarding the Agency of Natural Resources permit appeal.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I move to enter into executive session for personnel under Wind VSA 313A3 and legal under one VSA 313A1F.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. We're in executive session.